many of us get wrapped up in the identity of what we do and not who we truly are.
I would like you to welcome today Mr. Doug Gordon. He is the international best-selling author of Charge Yourself Up for Success, a multi-award winning speaker, mental health, performance mindset coach.
You can have the best product or service in the world, but if you can't message that out effectively through good communication, good presentation skills, and good sales skills, you're going to be the biggest secret in the world. The best people, the leaders that I know, are constantly working on their self in terms of personal and professional development. They never feel that they're the end product.
So what are the learning experience and the impact that it has in you and other people?
I'm going to give two key things. One,
Hello there. Good day. Good morning. Today, I'm really honored to have a man whose journey bridges global success and personal transformation. He is a former C-level executive recognized by the Time and the Independent for building large international businesses. Wow. But behind the award, the stages and the accolade is a deeper story, one shaped by resilience, purpose, and passion for uplifting others. And that's what he is. Now, he is the international best-selling author of Charge Yourself Up for Success, a multi-award winning speaker, mental health, performance mindset coach, and the voice for the podcast Inspirational People, Inspirational Story, where he has interviewed 350 global change makers from best-selling author to film stars and politician and CEO. Now, guys, before we dive into our conversation, I would like to ask you a favor. If you like what we do here today, please, you know what to do. Like and subscribe and stay tuned with us today as we embark on this amazing story. All right. This is a conversation that goes beyond the title, the achievement. It's a human journey, a moment, challenge, and the lesson learned by this gentleman here. And I would like you to welcome today Mr. Doug Gordon. Thank you for being here with us at the GST today. How are you today, Doug?
Aileen, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and thank you for anybody who's listening.
Thank you. Now, we are decided to have this conversation because we were introduced by someone who believed that you're a change maker. And I think we are aligned when we talk about our journeys in podcasting, right? So I'm fascinated about people's stories and change maker, and you embody the exact definition of change maker. So before we go into this story and before we hear about you, let me know a little bit about who is Doug Gordon? Where are you from? And who is that person that shaped who you are today?
Well, I think the most important thing for me really is I'm a dad, I'm a partner, I am a son, a brother, and many other things in terms of that kind of stuff. I think too many of us get wrapped up in the identity of what we do and not who we truly are. And I think the important things really in life are our family, our friends, and everything like that. So that's number one. But yes, there's been a lot of change over my life. I started off in terms of career-wise. I went into university to study engineering, but then came out of engineering straight into the financial world. Wow. Worked in finance and fund management for 21 years. And during that time period, worked my way up from customer service to sales support, to sales management, sales director, to head of sales and marketing and board director. So during that time period, I went through various different companies. I worked for some fantastic companies like Fidelity, Lazard, HSBC, Aviva, Columbia Threadneedle, and Davy Asset Management as well. I met some amazing people along the way, had an amazing journey, really enjoyed working with the people, the clients, everybody. But in 2008, you might remember the markets kind of fell through the floor, and there was a lot of layoffs, and that led to a lot of stress in the city. I was working in London. I'm Irish, although I don't sound it. And when I was over in London, I got really, really stressed. And that stress led to ailments, doctors, specialists, 2 operations that went wrong, 4 years of chronic pain where I felt like I was being punched in the stomach. And then after that 4 years, and unfortunately I got the norovirus, which is like a stomach bomb. And after 10 days of serious dehydration and electrolytes almost down to zero, I was in getting heart problems, rushed to hospital. The ambulance ECG said that there was a problem in the heart, and my blood pressure doubled. Arrived into A&E, was rushed down to X-ray, and on the way down to X-ray, I passed over into the light and was encapsulated in this amazing feeling of love, energy, and connection, nothing like I've ever felt before. Obviously, I came back, otherwise I wouldn't be speaking to here today, and I changed my life gradually. Initially, I wanted to heal myself, so I ended up getting into modalities of healing such as Reiki and Sakim and magnified healing, bioenergy healing, and quantum healing. Selfishly, initially, just to heal myself. And I think in all therapy, whether it be in psychology, whether it be in healing or whatever, I think it's very important to heal yourself first before you start healing other people or helping other people. And that's what I did. So gradually then I realized, had a bit of a skill for it and utilized the healing to help people, but then realized that a lot of ailments and problems, emotional problems in life and stress comes from the mind and the emotions beforehand. So I decided to study mindset coaching, mental health practitioner, and mix them all together so that I could then help people both in the mind, the body, and the soul as well. And then because of the business stuff, got kind of back into business. I left the corporate world in 2018, but found very rapidly that there was a lot of stressed individuals within organizations, or as well, because of communication and presentation skills, which I do a lot of, was asked back in to help people in terms of being able to communicate more effectively with themselves as well, because the relationship with yourself is the most important, but then with the people they worked with, their colleagues, their team members, and obviously their clients as well.
Okay, that's amazing, because I did, when I was kind of getting ready to have this conversation, you and I spoke only twice in our entire life, and I was kind of fascinated at how this happened. So that you bring something that is common in most of the people I interview, is that there's always a turning point. An amazing turning point. And I'm glad that you transform your specific turning point into something that is helping others, right? And how did that evolve? Walk me through how. I know you felt sick and you started to think about yourself first, and then eventually now you're helping people. But when was the moment you say, oh, wait a minute, I think other people can benefit from this?
Yeah. So I had some kind of miracle healing stuff happen. I remember the first time I kind of realized I could do some healing was my son had stepped on a huge splinter. It was about this big. It went into his foot. He was only about 9 at the time. And we were down in Wexford, away from any hospital or doctors. And my ex-wife at the time said, oh, we're going to have to go to hospital. We can't get this out. And I started doing this healing, this Reiki stuff. And I said, shall I try my healing? And she looked at me as if I had two heads. But I decided to give it a go. And the splinter came out without me touching it. And my son was like, Dad, I didn't touch it. It just came out. So at that point, obviously, he told everybody. And then I started doing a bit of healing then. But then during the pandemic, obviously, a lot of people got very stressed. And there was a lot of people who were depressed. They were lonely. And I went on a virtual speaking app, and we had a room. It was called the Mental Wellness Room. And there was psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, even neuroscientists, and then like mindset coaches like myself on a panel helping people in terms of mental well-being. And I probably did, during the pandemic, over 2,000 hours on this, helping people, because we were stuck indoors, couldn't go anywhere. So literally spent all day on it. And it was very, it was hard work, because you're obviously helping people with, with a lot of issues, depression, suicidal tendencies, stress, whatever, anxiety. So it was stressful, but at the same time, it's very fulfilling. And while I was on there, it was not just me helping them; it was obviously others. So I could listen and see how the psychologists or the psychotherapists or whatever worked their magic, and learn from that as well. So it was like, as well as helping people, I was getting training as well, because we'd all give our 2 cents in terms of what we thought could help the person. I gave a more holistic idea and, practicals idea, and some of them would give more kind of psychological ideas. But gradually I learned from that and was able to, utilize my learnings to help other people as well. So that was when I realized, and then when I saw one particular lady who was going to take her life, and I managed to turn her around. And then I did some one-to-one sessions with her. And now she's inspiring other ladies who had gone through the most horrific things that a woman could go through, to better lives. And I've got testimonies and on LinkedIn, for example, of her saying that if it wasn't for me, she wouldn't be around now. So that kind of thing made me realize that obviously, if I can do that with that person, which literally she had been through the worst thing possible. I'm not even mention it on the show. You can imagine for a lady what the worst thing possible would be without death. And now has completely changed her life. And she had lost complete faith in men. And now she has actually found a new partner and got married to him recently, just last year. So, which is lovely. So she was able to release the past and find love again.
Yeah. Now that's very fascinating. Before we go further into the healing, I'm more intrigued by the healing process and the way you go about it. I probably think it's something that people might be wondering, how does that happen? But when I look through your journey, there's a finance bit there, there's communication, like how do you still do all those things, or you focus more on the health part of it? And how do you transition between three different worlds, completely three different worlds? You are now mental health support healer, like we say, then you help companies with their finances, your communicator, like it's like you're out of this world. Can you just walk me through how does that work out in your life?
Yeah. So money is an exchange for energy.
Okay.
Money is in exchange for energy, time, knowledge, and experience. And time, knowledge, and experience all take energy. So if you can optimize your energy, you can optimize your performance. So the reason why I still do the healing is to help people on the backdrop to be able to create the foundation of having lots of energy so that they can go into their jobs, stand on stages, communicate more effectively, be better in a relationship, all down to having that more energy. Now, the other thing you need to remember is that your nervous system creates your emotional signals that go through your body. And emotions are energy in motion. So if your nervous system is off, if you're stressed, if you're suffering from PTSD, from trauma, from something in the past, maybe a parental problem or something from when you were younger, that can make you make the wrong decisions in life. That can make you more triggered, and that can cause irrational decisions. And those irrational decisions can cause a lack of money flow. And that's why also by still doing this healing stuff, it can help people optimize that as well and improve the money flow. One, because you're more switched on, you're not as triggered, and you can make more rational decisions in your business and your relationships and your life. So that's why I do that still. So for example, tomorrow I'm going into a CEO of a very large tech firm, and I'm doing a healing before lunch on his secretary and himself, because he's very much into optimizing his energies, into biohacking and all that kind of stuff, because he wants to give the best as a CEO within his business. And then after lunch, we're then doing a few hours of coaching, and that'll include communications coaching, sales coaching, because it's January, obviously, goal setting as well, in terms of setting goals for the future as well. So there's very much a mix and balance of a holistic side to get the person into the best possible state, emotionally, physically, and spiritually as well, I suppose. But then also then grounded stuff in terms of communication skills, presentation skills, leadership skills, sales skills, performance skills, and getting a team to work collaboratively together towards collective goals.
Okay. And in terms of impact, I can see there's still not really a transition here. So you're not focusing on one thing, but is there a reason why you feel that everything that we do in life, like you say, is about the state of mind we are? But is there a reason why you feel that there's a need for healing, or is there a reason why you feel basically that does everybody needs healing really? Because I think when I'm hearing you, I feel that we all need some level of healing? Or is there people who live well without needing this desire for being healed?
Of course, yeah. No, there's loads of
Yeah.
people who are. I think, what happens is it can be various different things. Either you might have, a parent, a mother or father who was either suffering because they suffered as a child. And, sometimes when you suffer inside, you kind of projectile vomit that on other people around you, especially on your loved ones. Or they've gone through a relationship breakup or some kind of, or it could be an ailment or an injury, or it could be a job loss. All of those can cause trauma or some sort in some kind of mental capacity. So, the stuff that I do in terms of the healing, I've actually healed people with, injuries and ailments, but also a lot of it is emotional stuff. So, and quite often I have one lady who would come to me every single month. She was a lawyer. But she was in some pretty nasty, courtrooms where the energy isn't great. So she comes to what she calls her spring clean to be able to get that energy back into the highest possible state and make sure she hasn't got any baggage or, kind of anything that she's picked up from other people in terms of negativity. Because I'm sure, like most people, if you go into a big shopping center like Dundrum or something like that, sometimes you come out feeling a bit jaded as such. And people can naturally get that back up to their normal state, but some people can't. So they come for a bit of a spring clean, they feel better and energize themselves, and that helps. But also, if, I've been through divorce, for example, and that's really hard on the kids. And although it was a pretty amicable divorce, at the same time, you feel guilty because of the kids, and that guilt can stay within you, and that guilt held within the body is not good for you. So, this healing mechanism or techniques can help release some of that, so that you focus on what you want in life rather than getting distracted by the stuff that you don't want.
Yeah. So let's talk about, in terms of, your journey so far, right? The learning experience. You have interviewed over 350 plus people. And what are the things that you've learned? You can consider yourself as someone who support people with healing and mental health, right? But the things that you have seen and learned from your interview, what are the things that you can tell us that have shaped your journey as well? Because I think I'm learning a lot from people I'm interviewing. Yeah. So what are the learning experience and the impact that it has in you and other people?
Yeah. So I'm going to give two key things. One, as I said, money is in exchange for energy, time, knowledge, and experience. And time, knowledge, and experience all take energy. So if you can optimize your energy, you can optimize your performance. And all of those guys that I've interviewed, male and female, have super energy. And they bring that to everything they do. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you can have the best product or service in the world, but if you can't message that out effectively through good communication, good presentation skills, and good sales skills, you're going to be the biggest secret in the world. And you don't want that. So it's very important to be able to practice, train your communication and presentation skills so you can get yourself up to another level. So the best people, the leaders that I know, are constantly working on their self in terms of personal and professional development. They never feel that they're the end product. And they're always trying to learn and get an edge from someone or something that they can pick up on in some way or form. Because the world is very dynamic. It's changing. This is called, obviously, change makers. Well, change is happening all around the world all the time. So you need to keep up, whether it be AI, whether it be communication skills, how we communicate. Look at us. Like the two of us now are online speaking, across, well, we're both in Dublin, but quite often I do these with people all around the world. So
yeah.
It's very important to make sure that you're changing with the times, and communication skills, presentation skills develop in different ways so that you can touch people's hearts. And that's the other thing I would say. A lot of these guys that I've interviewed stood on stages, and all of them, including myself, would say it's not just connecting with people's heads, it's really connecting with people's hearts as well. So this day and age, because we've got YouTube, because we've got television, because we've got all of those, anybody can get the information out there. But actually being in the energy of someone and creating an experience for someone is what really counts these days. People, when I go into a lot of companies. I've worked with like Dell, Samsung, JP Morgan, people at Meta and all this kind of stuff. they don't just want to be talked to these days. They want to
Okay.
have experience. And the experience comes, from the visual of being able to see the person, the audio of being able to hear the person, but also the kinesthetic. What can you get them to do? Can you get them to do exercises, movement, something within the experience of the talk or the training or whatever it is? And that's what I really focus on. Each individual slide, if I have a slide of PowerPoint, I always look at it and think, okay, what is this slide, this story going to do for them? Is it going to add value to them? And also, what experience can I give to them in terms of movement or interaction with each other that's going to create a memory in terms of the emotion and the energy as well? So this is what leaders that I'm speaking to are always trying to do, whether it be in sport, whether it be in their business. They're trying to create connection with the people they work with so that everybody works together in a more collaborative manner towards those collective goals. And that's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't succeed. Also, we are always trying to biohack our body, whether it be through cold showers, which I did this morning, whether it be through meditation, whether it be through exercise, whether it be through, constant learning, mindfulness, whatever it might be, journaling, all these different things can really help in terms of getting your mindset into the best possible state so that you perform in the best possible way.
Yeah. Now, before you got into that moment of change, right? When you were young, right? Was this did you always feel you had that gift? Did you find that gift somewhere in you, or was it just what happened to you kind of revived that gift? Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and how you navigate through your schooling and up to being a child in Ireland and growing up, like the dreams that you have. So, because when someone listens to you, they want to know, who is this guy? Like what? Because most of the time we hear about healing, you see the churches are doing healing and the different form of what people. I'm thinking, oh, this is weird. So who is this guy? Why would I want to trust you? Like, who's this person that grew up to become who you are today? Tell me a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing, your dreams.
In a bit of context in terms of, we have to obviously start with my parents who obviously produced me.
Yeah.
My dad, he actually was an orphan because he lost his dad at the age of 2 and his mum at the age of 6. So he had a really tough upbringing. He actually, he went to one of the toughest boarding schools when he was younger, and thankfully he was very clever and got a scholarship into Trinity College Dublin, and then did very well, and then he actually went into the financial world as well, like me, but he actually went into the IT side. So he was technology, software, and IT. And he did incredibly well. He worked his way up from nothing, literally. He had government support for his schooling, so absolutely nothing, to then become, his last job was president of Fidelity Investments, reporting straight into Ned Johnson, who was the owner of it.
Okay.
So who was a billionaire. He's passed away now, but so, Dad did incredibly well, but he instilled a work ethic, a communications ethic, and a family ethic. He was very family orientated because he didn't have a family himself when he was growing up. Okay. So we had always had dinner table conversations that went on for quite some time. I have 2 brothers as well, where we were debating ideas and thought theories and everything like that. So that really helped in terms of the communication, but also the confidence in terms of being able to speak in front of other people. And my mother, interestingly enough, was a healer. So she got into Reiki very early as well. So they gave very good grounding in terms of my childhood, in terms of communication skills and everything like that, but also a care and kindness from my mum. My mum would have a heart that is very caring, very kind. Yeah. And she would be renowned for that as well. So she's still at 80 years of age. She still goes round now to the local old people's home, and she's not in it, but she's round there and helping them in terms of bringing a bit of joy to their lives every day, even at 80. So that's my mum through and through. And, so they're very good, grounded parents that helped me in that way to learn to be a better communicator and also want to do well in life as well. Because I figured, if my dad started off as an orphan and did as well as he did, surely with the grounding that I had, I had to do something decent.
Yeah.
So that kind of drove me a lot as well. And during my childhood, I was very competitive. My father did push us a bit. If we showed interest in a sport or anything like that, he would get involved and he would help. And I remember I started up a football team myself, but we needed an adult to be able to do the refereeing and sign the forms and all that kind of stuff. I was only 13, 14 at the time, so he did all that. And they got involved in us and helped us, and it was great to feel that love, and the generosity in terms of their time that they gave. And I think that was a very good grounding, and it taught me to try and be like that as well with my kids. And I get on great with my kids. I've got two wonderful children, one 20, one 17, one in Trinity, and one coming up to the final year in school, and they're super children as well. So, look, and they've been through divorce as well, so it's not an easy thing. So I'm very proud of my son. I have to say he did his leaving, and having gone through divorce, they say sometimes children will find it more difficult than leaving. Well, he got 602 out of 625 points. For those of you in A levels, that's like getting 5 A's.
I know.
So,
I know, yeah.
So he did very well. So very, very proud of my children, although they did it all themselves, and very much grateful for having such loving parents as well.
So I sense mentorship has shaped who you are. So you had in your father and probably your mother some level of mentorship. And I think this is something that people that I talk to, even myself, that in my own life, that I think is key. All right. So you have, but not everybody has that, right? Not everybody has the opportunity to have this loving and environment where there's some level of someone who shaped who you are in some ways, right? So what would you say, and how would you support someone who come through this, not knowing some support, love, and everything? How do you support them through your healing process?
Yeah, so I think it's very much in my book as well.
Yeah,
I think what is the meaning of life? Well, I think it's twofold. The meaning of life is, one, to enjoy life. So we have these 5 senses: the gift of being able to see the sun, to see the stars, the sky; the gift of being able to hear the whistle of the wind, or a child saying, "Mummy or Daddy, I love you"; the gift of being able to taste chocolate or wine, or smell a rose, or my favorite, have a hug. So all of these are the gifts of life. And I think we need to break life down to gratitude. And I think in the days that we live these days, we often play for the dopamine hits of the likes on Facebook or Instagram or TV or something like that. And
tune into your channel.
Yeah, and people are spending too much time on social media, and that can cause depression, that can cause mental health issues. So it's very important to have a balance of getting out in nature and appreciating, as I said, those 5 senses, and be grateful for the grounded things in life. Be grateful for the silence in life. In terms of what I mean by that is when you're not having those dopamine hits. But also the other meaning of life is to find your true purpose in life. And I help people find that, in a simple effect, what do you love doing in life?
Oh, yeah.
What do you enjoy doing in life? What are you good at doing in life? And what can you add value to people around you or the world, and maybe even make some money out of it as well? So when you know that alignment of what your purpose is, and it's aligned to here, as in your heart rather than your head, then you can follow that path. And I think what I do is I help people find that path. Now, that might be through those, what do you love doing? What are you good at doing? What can you add value to people? But it can be through, what have you gone through in life in terms of what mess have you gone through, and can you turn it into a message and give it meaning to help other people in some way or form? Or, if you can't change in your job, have a look at the energetics of what you do and how it adds value to the end customer in some way or form. So as an example, when I was in the investment world, I thought at one stage it was transactional, but when I reframe it and I look, actually, we're helping that granny or grandpa retire younger, give more to their children, their grandchildren, buy a better retirement home, have a better life, then you can reframe that. Even if you're the secretary in the company helping somebody who eventually helps the end customer, you are helping them as well, because it's all energetically interlinked. So it's, if you can embrace a sense of purpose every single day, that can help you as well. And quite often people are drifting in life. They don't have direction in life. So when I'm mentoring and coaching people, I'm helping them find that purpose, but also then align goals, tasks, ideas, theories, so that they get towards those tasks in a grounded way. And that's why, generally, communication presentation skills are a good start, because you communicate more effectively with your team, with your suppliers, with your clients, to be able to get more business as well. So that's why I would help them in that, in terms of mentoring as a start.
Okay. So one thing I want to say, in my personal experience, I think one thing that I've seen when we're raising children, and we've been raised, I was raised in Africa, for example, there's a very little emphasis on self-awareness. So I sense a lot of things that you do is bring people to realize who they truly are. And then also, I feel like there's also an induced way of believing because of cultural standards, like cultural shape who we are. And a lot of time it's difficult for people to be different. So because if you discover that who you are is different from the cultural standpoint of view, it creates that sense of guilt. It creates that sense of, I can't do this. I don't want to do this because what is my people going to think? Who people are going to think? And I think we are induced to feel guilty from a young age, right? So what do you think about, the whole concept of self-awareness shaping the way people raise their children? Because we raise our children to succeed, to be something else, right? But I think it's missing. So what do you think about that? It's missing in the way we raise from the onset. I know you talked about communication. You can't be a great communicator if you're not self-aware, but I think not everybody thinks about it in their home, right? What do you think? Because I just, it's something that bothers me a lot these days, where there's a lot of talk about success, but there's not enough talk about how do I train my child to know who he is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've hit on something really important in terms of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is part of emotional intelligence, or EQ, as people talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think in the past, people have been so focused on IQ in terms of intelligence and schooling and everything like that. But actually, some of the most successful people in the world are entrepreneurs. And those successful people are very high in emotional intelligence. And that would be, like you said, self-awareness, which includes people awareness, situational awareness, and then in business, economic awareness, client awareness, market awareness, and all of those together. And when you become very self-aware and aware of the people around you as well, you generally are better in business, you're better in your relationships, you're better in life, right? So that's part of emotional intelligence. The other part is conscious communication. And that's being able to communicate effectively with people to create win-win rather than you just win. So that's the second part of it as well. Thirdly, emotional intelligence, in terms of what we have going on in the world, there's some horrible things going on in the world. So, and there are some people who are very hurt, and those hurt people hurt other people. They, as I said, they projectile vomit their hurt onto other people around them, unfortunately. And I think one thing I would like to say is a lot of people often call people narcissists. And I think we need to reframe that, because that's sometimes overused, and remember that actually these people are just hurt people. They're hurt people who are projectile vomiting their hurt onto other people. So instead of looking at them as a narcissist and pointing fingers, is to try and have empathy and compassion for them and send them love. Because if you can have that in terms of self-awareness, it can make a massive difference, because we're a product of our parents, preachers, teachers, and past relationships and experiences. And that means we see the world in the way that we're brought up. We see the world in the way that we experience through this lens that we have. So by truly trying to, with compassion, and this is another part of emotional intelligence, by having compassion and empathy and putting yourself in other people's shoes, we can create a much more loving world that we live in as well. And sometimes that means that we need to have self-regulation in terms of taking yourself out of the situation. So you might get somebody who's a bit of a so-and-so going like this. You take yourself out of the situation, put yourself almost like as if you're looking down into the conversation rather than getting wrapped up in the emotion and commotion, and ask yourself in that situation as the observer rather than wrapped up, how can I help this person? How can I learn from this situation? And how can I be the most emotionally intelligent to create win-win out of this situation as well?
But do people want that? Do people want that? Do people have the time for it? Because I can challenge you that it's true to be, I did emotional intelligence training as much as possible in a company like Accenture. You can't work there without, it was a big thing for a while since the 2008, they started the whole concept. They understood that success was that. And I agree with you. But I think the intentional awareness, like, okay, it's good to be self-aware, but the guilt takes over. Because a lot of time when you find out things about yourself, a lot of time we deep more into the negative than the good, right? And the guilt is a problem, right? So how do people even have time for it? Because sometimes as well, I want to be self-aware, but I have bills to pay. I have to run around to do this. People are busy. Sometimes you also grow into an environment where you don't really have time to think about yourself because it's a challenging environment. You know, there's some countries in the world where there's horrible stuff happening to people and people don't even know what they're going to eat, right? How does self-awareness, when someone like that listening, how does self-awareness and emotional intelligence help the person, right? Because I think it's in the environment, in fairness. What do you think? I think it's the environment that you are in that would allow you to actually go do a deep dive on yourself. So I'm a kind of brainstorming here because I know when we listen to conversation like this one, people get a little bit tired. I'm like, oh, like I'm going through here. I don't have food on the table, or maybe I'm going to get killed. We don't know when the bomb is coming. How do I navigate myself when at those situations, right? The worst situation. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. So
yeah,
I've come across all different types of people, from people who are earning next to nothing and really struggling to people who are billionaires.
Okay.
And what I've seen is how you conduct yourself in life, regardless of the situation, is up to you in terms of self-awareness. So you can there are many, many billionaires who are miserable. They have terrible relationships. They're absolutely miserable. Or they have fake relationships where the person who's with them is just after their money. Whereas there can be somebody with very little who's actually very happy.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is you can have absolutely nothing in life, but still be happy, because it's whatever you give out in life, you get back in life. So there are people who have gone to the top ruthlessly, knocking people out of their way, grabbing whatever they can, stealing whatever they can. But inside of them, they don't feel good. You might see in the hard shell on the outside, they look like they are, but quite often these are the kind of people who end up getting ailments, like the worst possible ones, when they're older, because they're holding on to this energy which isn't love. Whereas if there's somebody that has nothing, and I've seen this because I've been to India and spent time with people who on the street and, who have literally nothing but still give, you can see in them there's an inner peace.
Okay.
And if you can take the fact of, even if you are in a situation where there's, a war going on, or there's poverty going on, or there's no food or whatever, but you can still live with this inner peace of grace. Now, that doesn't mean sitting and not doing anything. You need to have self-awareness to get off, and be proactive, and you need to be, a hard worker. And anybody who really truly is a hard worker and puts the effort in, regardless, you will make some kind of money or some kind of return. But if you sit around with not doing anything, obviously, there's going to be no food on the table. But those who get up there and actually make a difference will find that the exchange of energy of you putting that hard work in, you'll get food back. You will get something back. So it's having that self-awareness, but it's not beating yourself up. It's not to go, if somebody suddenly starts looking at themselves and go, oh my God, I'm controlling, or I'm selfish or something. It's not to be, oh my God, I'm terrible. It's to instead then go, okay, at times I've been selfish. At times I've been controlling. I need to catch myself out. And when I'm starting to do that, almost go, hold on a minute, don't do that. Let's have a look at it. So self-awareness is not pointing the finger at yourself, because we're all perfectly imperfect. There's nobody who's perfect. So we're all perfectly imperfect. So accepting that, but then saying, okay, I know at times, maybe in a conversation, I try and control the conversation, or I talk too much. But because I'm now aware of that, I'm going to maybe say to myself every day, I am listening with love and understand the other person's perspective. So instead of forcing your ideas or talking too much, whatever it is to sit back and listen and say to yourself, oh, hold on. I know I want to talk. Hold on, and hold that awareness. And it might be different aspects. It might be, you have self-doubt. So you start putting yourself down, and then you suddenly go, oh, I've caught myself. I'm giving myself this self-doubt. I need to stop that. And I need to almost say to myself, no, I am love. I can give love. I receive love. I am worthy of love as well. So it's catching yourself out in the moment and using that self-awareness, maybe using affirmations, because you're the person who speaks to yourself the most. You might as well make it positive. So you get that positive affirmations going into your head by using the self-aware areas that you know that you let yourself down in. And by, let's say, for example, you have a lack of self-love. You might look at yourself in the mirror when you're doing your teeth every morning and say, I love and approve myself. I am worthy of love. And look at yourself and go, you are the man, or you are the girl. You're amazing. And voice that out. And the more you say it, the more you actually might believe it. Yeah. And when you embody that energy of that confidence, that love for yourself, I always say love is an acronym for lots of vibrant energy, you might find that little things start to change in your life because your energy changes, your confidence changes, your love for yourself changes. And what happens then is, because you got more love for yourself, you project that out to more people, and then they want to help you or give you more because they feel that from you as well. Yeah. So regardless of, let's take, all those avatars, whether it be Buddha, Jesus, Krishna, whatever, I don't know, a lot of those guys didn't have anything, yet they projected so much love out to the world that they never stayed in a victim mentality. They stayed in a victor mentality, and they went out there giving, even in an empty cup, as much love as possible, and people wanted to help them as well.
It's good that you said that, because I wanted to bring in the aspect of religion. That, do you believe in the concept of religion, where religion actually takes a little bit away from that concept of, it's more about surrender, especially in the Christian religion. It's more about surrender yourself as opposed to control the narrative. So what do you think about that in your line of work? How do you think about that aspect of navigating healing and taking control and everything? Because when I look at Christianity, it's basically based on surrender, for example.
Well, I've read the Bible from front to back, and it's more than that. Christianity, like all religions, I always say religions are like rivers to the sea. And the sea can be God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna. It can be universal consciousness. It can be self-love. It doesn't matter. They're all different paths, and they're all beautiful in their own right to that sea. And I think the most important thing of that sea, whether it be God, Allah, whatever, is love for yourself, and then being able to project that love out to other people. And the Old Testament and the New Testament are very different. The New Testament is a lot about love. The New Testament is about gratitude. It's about praying. It's about connection. It's about teamwork in terms of the 12 apostles. There's a lot more to it than just surrender. And yes, I do believe in the ask and you will receive, but I also believe there's a lot of things that are kind of behind there in terms of religion that may have been misinterpreted slightly as well.
Misused.
Yeah.
For a purpose. Yeah.
Look, I truly believe, and it does say this in the Bible, that where Jesus says, I am God, and I truly believe that we're all creations of God. So we're all connected to God. We all have the ability to do miracles and healings and have psychic ability and everything, whatever else it is. But we need to get into that true state of love, that true, state of being connected to your heart self, and truly treat people in that way. And if we all did that, whatever you give out in life, you generally get back in life. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of religions that talk about karma. I truly believe in karma. I also believe, as Einstein says, energy never dissipates. It just moves from one form to another. So why would you come down just as you or I? Why would you not come down as the king, the queen, the prince, the pauper, the invalid, the Olympian, to experience life in different ways and different means? And many lives talk about reincarnation. And actually the Bible, before the final version, did talk about it, but they took it out. So, there's a lot of aspects of understanding that and even in the Bible still, it says, do unto others, or if you do negative things unto others, it could happen in your ancestral line forward. So, and that's kind of talking about reincarnation. You could come back. So based on that premise, there are people in religions who do horrible things, and it's not just religions. They do horrible things to other people. There might be males that do horrible things to females. Well, you never know. You might come back, if you're a male, you might come back as a female in the next life. Okay. Do unto others as you want to be done to yourself. And I believe in that. And I truly try and give as much love and kindness to other people as possible. Yeah. Now, that, in terms of the surrender thing, yes, pray. Yes, meditate. Yes, listen. I always say, prayer is, talking to God. Meditation is listening to God. But God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So maybe we should be listening twice as much as we speak. I don't know. But based on...
Well, you have to listen more, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, but and also a lot of these law of attraction kind of things, like The Secret and other ones, they talk about, how you can create things, but you can create things, through visualization, through prayer, and, through intention, but you also have to get up and take massive action. Yeah. And, I have an acronym in my book, Charge Yourself Up for Success, of how to make things happen is mindset, in terms of being very positive, but taking action. A is action. K is knowledge, in terms of learning consistently, but K is also knowledge in terms of emotional intelligence, that self-awareness stuff. And E is energy, putting a lot of energy into things as well. So, we can't just sit there and pray. We can't just surrender completely. We need to get off our asses and get out there.
And do something. Don't be lazy. Yeah. I want to ask you something about, you've talked, you are a leader yourself, and you talk to a few leaders. What this channel is a lot about impact. What are the 3 things that a leader, that you've learned as a leader, that can create an impact to people, other than, I know already self-awareness is one of the key things, but what are the 3 impactful things that you can tell my listener to become a leader, and what you learn as a leader?
Well, let's take the word leadership. There's a ship in it, right? Yeah. So normally within a business, you have a mission statement for the company, and you have goals that align towards that. And as a leader, you need to make sure that everybody is on board that ship, traveling in the right direction of what you're looking to achieve, which is obviously, as I said, the mission statement, giving the clients their needs and aligning goals towards that as well. Now, what a leader needs to do is to create the best relationship with the people that he works with or she works with, and the clients serve. And relationship, that word can be broken down into relay, in terms of conscious communication, active listening, and then shuns, in terms of the relationship. The shun is the expectations, the intentions, the communications, the presentations. All of those need to be put together. So the intentions and the expectations come through the strategy, the planning, the business planning, working out where you're going to go and what you're trying to achieve, the goals that are put in place. And that way you need to relay those to be able to put the people and the clients on board that ship, traveling in the right direction. So that's where, a leader needs to have a very clear vision, needs to align purpose through the heart within themselves, and then project that out through communication to the people that they work with, so that you're aligned. Now, what you also need to do as a leader is remember that you're going to have your goal over there, and behind that goal are going to be hurdles, such as self-doubt, procrastination, lack of team play, whatever they are. So
your human side, your human part of it. Yeah.
Yes. But your job as the leader is to be self-aware of all those things, all those blockages, all those hurdles that get in the way, and help you and then your team clear that path so that you can focus on the goal rather than the distractions. So what I do is, in terms of helping people, I help people find their purpose. I help people improve their communications and their presentation skills. And then I help people get rid of those blockages, those hurdles that are in the way, so they can achieve their goals quicker, faster, and easier. And then I give them tools, in terms of grounded tools, obviously, through my experience of working in corporate with lots of different people, and what I've learned from other people to get there quicker, faster, and easier without those things getting in the way.
Yeah. And you've have done a lot of impact on people. I know, Tad, we talked a little bit about some of the political impact that you've done. Can you tell our listener a little bit more about that? How you supported some people trying to get into a certain role in leaderships and all that. So how was that? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I was approached, by the lovely Addie. And Addie is a Nigerian-born Irish lady.
Okay.
She's been in Ireland, I think, for about 25 years now. And she came over here with pretty much nothing. And she's now one of the top barristers in Dublin. And she's a wonderful woman. She's put 3 of her kids through Trinity, all very successful, and created an amazing life for herself over here in Ireland. And she came to me about 4 years ago now, as was the first time anyway. She was going for the senator role within Dublin in Trinity. And I helped her in terms of communication and presentation skills, bringing her up in terms of her ideas and how she could maybe get into the senator role. Now, she didn't get it. But she did improve massively. And then she went for a second time as well. And look, there's some amazing people who are going for that role. But I really wanted to help her. I think it would be lovely. I'm very much into diversity inclusion. I'm very much, because I lived abroad. As an Irishman, I had a very strong Irish accent when I first moved to England, and lost that pretty rapidly as a self-preservation with young kids. Kids can be mean, right? Young kids, to make sure that I fit in. So I knew what it was like moving to a different country and not fitting in to begin with, because I was moving across at the time of the Guildford Four, and the IRA was obviously quite prevalent at the time. So over in the UK, having an Irish accent wasn't a great thing at times. But that really helped me develop that appreciation for moving to a different country and finding it hard initially to move in. Also, I lived in Belgium, in Brussels, where there was, I went to a school where there was diplomats sons and daughters from all around the world. Oh. So I got very much in an early age to mix with people from all backgrounds and all areas in life, and made some very strong friendships there as well. So I see all of us for 2 reasons. One, because of that, and also because my near-death experience, I truly believe that the true us is the energy within us. So we're all the same. I think we just choose different paths in life to come down to this life to experience different experiences in life as well. But again, going back to what I said earlier, I think it's so important to treat everybody as you want to be treated yourself, because you could be them in the next life, in my viewpoint. So, based on that, I become great friends with Addie. But I've also helped a lot of other people. There's a lovely girl called Pearl, who came from Botswana, and she came over here to Ireland as well. And I helped her with her communication presentation skills and how to write a book. And she's since written a book. I endorsed the book, and I was the only speaker really, other than herself, at her book launch. And her book has become an international bestseller. She's been in newspapers. She's been all around the world. She's stood on stages now. And, I think it's lovely to have been a little bit of part of that as well, because she had a really, really tough life where she came across, and she had no father really, and then her mum died, and then she had cancer herself, and went through a really tough time. So I was supporting her in that. I gave her a bit of a healing as well, and then we did a lot of communication presentation skills to help her in terms of her book, and also market her book as well. So, and I could give you a ton of other ones.
Yeah.
I'm very, very much into that kind of stuff.
One of the things that I want to say is that when we think about people want to have an impact in the community, right? So what are the advice that you can give people who want to say, okay, how can I have an impact? How can I support the area where I live? So what are the tips that you can give to people about it? Through your own journey, what you've learned when you're impacting people's life?
Well, my first and number one tip, which I had to learn, is to give without the expectation of getting anything back.
Wow.
Because quite often what happens is people give and give and give and give, and they don't get anything back. They don't get any gratitude back or anything like that. But don't give for looking to get something back.
Wow.
Give because you know that giving to others is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself. And give with joy without the expectation. That's what I would say.
I love
And,
that.
and that's where the difference makes, because when I was doing those 2,000, 3,000 hours, whatever it was during the pandemic on that platform for mental health, it was hard, like at times dealing with people that were really struggling, and you pick up on their energy sometimes and all that kind of stuff. And, if I'd looked for gratitude in every single person I helped, I'd be looking a long time. And because some people out there they haven't got the capacity to. They're in a real, they're in a bit of a hole. You're helping them. They haven't got the capacity to say thank you. They don't know. It's not they don't mean to, but they just don't see it because they're so much wrapped up in their bubble of, what they've gone through. They just can't see outside of that sometimes.
Yeah.
So have compassion, have empathy for that, have understanding for that, and give without expectation of getting anything back. And I think that's the greatest gift that you can give to yourself in terms of helping other communities as well. Or if you're a community, if you're part of, if you're an immigrant that's moved into, a new community, have the understanding that, just give without expectation as well. Because at the end of your life, when you look back at your life, if you've helped a load of other people, you'll be able to look at yourself and go, you know what? You're okay.
Okay.
But if you've gone out there and given to loads of people and said, I gave to all those people, I did all those things, and they never said I was good, or they never said I was nice, or whatever, that's not going to be, happy. That's not inner peace. Yeah. And, in life really isn't about seeking happiness. People think it is. But the number one really is to seek inner peace. Then you will be happy. Or it'll
I agree with you on that one. Yeah.
Because when we seek happiness through dopamine hits and getting things, quite often I see people who are, I'll be happy when I have this car or this house, or, when I keep up with the neighbors, or,
the jobs.
Other jobs. And they get into the job and they're not happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas, if you can truly align to your true sense of purpose, your heartfelt mission, and find happiness within it, regardless of what it is, and help as many people in the world in a state of service as possible, you will find then that you'll be more happy because you'll have more inner peace.
I think this is a very big message for parents. It's a very amazing thing to start really training the children from a young age to get that more so than anything else. Because like I said to you, we have been induced, especially in my part of the world. And I think maybe here as well, I've seen that in Ireland, where success is a big thing in the way we educate people. And that's why you see even the competition shows are big and making money, because obviously it's based on the success of one person. Now, I want to walk through a little bit. We talked about a lot of things there. So if you want to, how people get to find out about you, what exactly, we talked about communication, healings. How do we get, if someone wants help, how do I get in touch with you, and what list are all the things you're doing, and how do we get through you to get that? And is there something that we can afford, right? Because, how it is. Yeah. Not everybody who needs help can afford the support, right? So.
Yeah. Well, one thing I just want to mention, you mentioned about parenting, and one of the things I would say out of my own experience is it is very important. Yes, you mentioned training your kids. I actually think it's more important modeling for your kids.
Okay.
Because they will actually follow your lead in terms of your personality, your characteristics, and they will model you. So it's not just about training. It's actually about leading. So there's a difference between managing people and leading. Leading, actually, you take control of doing something yourself and prove to others that, you can do it, and this is the right way of doing it in terms of kindness and all that kind of stuff. The other thing with children as well is when they become teenagers, I often say, if you give advice, you almost add advice in terms of those vices. So it's very important to guide, to lead, and to model correctly rather than advising and training, because that way the kids then will listen and follow you. But if you tell them what to do, you know how kids don't like being told what to do. So
especially
I think modeling is so important.
You see that a lot with different gender. Like the boys I find that even when I'm raising my children, the approach is different. Like if you say something to the boys in the house here, it's different from the girls, right? And the way you communicate things and instruction to them. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that just to put on that point, but in terms of where you can get hold of me, I mean, I'm on all the social media. So on Instagram and Facebook, I'm under Doug D. Gordon, and then under LinkedIn, which is my main one really, I've got about 28,000 followers there. I'm under Doug Gordon, and you can look me up either under my podcast, Inspirational People, Inspirational Stories, or my book, Charge Yourself Up for Success, Energizing Life, Work, and Relationships, or my company, which is called DNS Performance Optimization. DNS is for Deliver and Serve Performance Optimization, which you can see on LinkedIn there as well. They're the three channels that I spend most of my time on. And you can also, my website is Doug, D-O-U-G, D, Gordon, Gordon, DougDGordon.com. And there's loads of podcasts like this that I've been on, a couple of TV shows, where I share advice. I also have on there, actually, I have a presentation I did at the Institute Directors Global Convention when I talked about how to communicate to connect, inspire, and unite your boards, your teams, and your clients. And that's like a 60-minute almost TED Talk. So you can see that on there, and that gives a lot of advice in terms of some of the things we've been talking about, but much more as well.
Yeah, so we talk about communication, healing, mental health healing, financial support. So people if they expect support, these are the areas that they would probably come to you as well. Now, what does Mr. Doug Gordon does as fun? Then you must have fun stuff. Like I know you alluded earlier about starting a football team when you were young at 13, but did you continue? What do you do for fun? You know,
So I loved football. I played soccer basically all my life. I'm 50 now, but when I was younger, I was playing soccer all the time, and then I played hockey, which is field hockey, and I played National League, Premier League, Division 1 hockey. I played for some of the best teams in the world. I played alongside international players, and it was brilliant fun, and I did that all the way through up until maybe about 8 years ago. But then also now I would play squash, I would play paddle, I would play tennis. I love running. I love hiking.
Wow. That's impressive.
And but I also, one of my hobbies, which is fun, I love interviewing amazing people. So, doing podcasts like this where I'm interviewing, I absolutely love it because you can learn so much from the people, but also make friends with the people as well. So my social life tends to be, I don't drink really. I do have the odd glass of wine, but not very often. And, so I would enjoy getting out there to personal development and professional development events, meeting like-minded people, understanding their theories, their ideas, and having fun. And, so that, like, my job, which I do, is fun. So, when you're interviewing people, when you're helping people, when you're standing, I love standing on stage. I've spoken on stage in summits at conferences in Cambridge University, Stanford University. I've spoken in, companies like Dell, ESB over here in Ireland recently, Okaco recently, all of these companies that I've spoken at. I love it. I love standing on stage because it's one-to-many training or one-to-many coaching to be able to help people get to a best state, perform to the optimal, and really, enjoy their life and enjoy their job more. So that's, as you can tell by my energy, I love it.
I can feel it. And also the transition. People are going through a lot of transition now to what's happening in the world today. And I think this is a good, your platform should be a good way to get support on how to navigate transition, right? So It's been an amazing conversation, I have to tell you the truth. And I feel really blessed, and also I'm humbled by the fact that you have agreed to have this conversation. And I know my viewers are going to really enjoy this talk. Now, what I'm leaving behind is, if you were to tell your younger self, it's a question that you always say, people always ask, and I used to find that question cheesy, but the more I think about it, I think the people live a lot in the past, right? And you are about healing. But if you were to tell your younger self, look back into your younger self, what would you say to you from
Well,
what you are now?
I would say it's something that I don't suffer from as much now, but
Yeah.
between the age, I suppose, of 20 to maybe 40 in business, I would overthink things. And quite often, maybe, a boss or something like that would say something to me, and I'd spend the whole weekend putting it around in my head going, oh, why did he say that? And I'd overanalyze it and overthink it. And, the boss probably just said something not even thinking, walked home and didn't even think about me for the rest of the weekend. And there I am worrying about it. So I would say stop overthinking as much. People don't think about you as much as you think they do. People have their own worries, their own concerns. So instead of focusing about what other people think, just focus on yourself, trying to be the best version of you, trying to be the better version of you from the day before. And I would also say that I truly would say to the person, look, me, the younger me, give out as much love, as much kindness as you possibly can, and don't worry about it. And just go out and enjoy life. Because if you give out love and kindness as much as possible, you, maybe not from that single person, but we're all interconnected through energy. You will get it back some way or form. And I would also say to my younger self as well is go out there and see the good in people, and go out there and also really, really, really work hard at something that you love doing, because you won't feel like you're working hard at all if you're doing something that you truly love doing.
And it's about being intentional, right? I really love that. Wow, that's powerful. I think the overthinking is something that happened to the best of us at that age, because I was the same as well until I had to let go of that. Mr. Gogden, it was a pleasure to have you on the GSTV today. I am really thankful, and I challenge you that we probably need to have more conversation deeply about it. Communication skill and transitioning in deeper level. But today it was an introduction to get to know who you are. And thank you everyone for listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.